morning, everyone. This is Linda with Bedtime Bible Chat. I'm not going to be on screen today because I'm not feeling really great and I don't feel like getting dressed. And since this is the last one for this week, I thought I'd go ahead and do the study, make it short and sweet. Well, we're going to continue in Proverbs 10, verse 15. And this one is a very easy lesson to teach and to understand. Verse 15 says, and I'm from the Good News translation so you can understand it well. Wealth protects the rich. Poverty destroys the poor. Well, that's so obvious, right? You know, we know how the rich get by with murder, literally, and they get to break every law in the world, and nothing ever happens to them. They're protected because they're rich. But let a poor person do half the things that these rich people do, and they're under the jail, not just put in the jail, but they'll never see daylight again. But most of the time, you and I, none of us ever, get in contact with the rich. So let's talk about people who aren't rich, but think they are. The rich like to throw their weight around, and, they're so narcissistic, and it's all about them, and they're just terrible people most of the time. There might be some that aren't, but I knew a mega rich person when I was in my 20s. I think I told y'all this story a long time ago. My husband worked for a company, and the owner of the company was a Canadian. And he was I think he was the second richest person in Canada at that time. So he used to come to our house every time he came to the States. And he loved being around us because, oh, I'm sorry. He loved being around us because, we were poor. But we were fun to be with, and he said he loved coming over to our house and cook hot dogs out on the grill, because that's all we could afford was hot dogs and hamburgers, and that's not anything that he would ever eat at home because he's mega rich. And just sit there and take his tie off and his shoes off and run his feet in the grass, and he said it's something he never gets to do. And he says, I feel at home here. And when we went to Canada, we'd go to his mansion. My goodness, what a mansion. And I could see why he felt at home at our house. Because you can't feel at home in a mega mansion. I mean, it's, it would take me all day to describe that place to y'all. So, he was a nice guy, though. He really was. But I knew some other rich guys through my husband's company that, they weren't real nice, okay? So my point, though, is that most rich people let their money go to their head. They're narcissists. Now, let's talk about people you and I have probably run into. Like people who think they're rich. Like the middle class. Those that make like 100 grand and up a year, they think they're all that in a bag of chips. They like to push their ideologies on other people. They like to be just, well, they're narcissists, so they've got to be right all the time. You know what I'm saying? And when they break the law, like a speeding ticket, you watch these videos where they give the cop a hard time because they had the audacity to give him a ticket because he's, rich in his mind. He's not rich in the real sense of the term rich. So the point is, though, money makes you crazy. The love of money is the root of all evil. And you can see that foment in these people who think they're rich when they're making a bunch of money, but it's not rich, really. Heck, if a millionaire isn't rich, then a guy making 100 or 200,000 a year is not rich either, okay? But in their mind, they are, because they still have to have some kind of elbow rubbing with people under them. Either they own a business or they're a manager in a business, and so the little guy under them working for them, yeah, they're not worth anything in their minds. So it's all power. Money gives you power, and boy, you make a little bit of money and it goes to your head. So this verse is just so obvious, wealth protects the rich. Oh, it does. But poverty destroys the poor. When you're poor, the obvious thing there is you can't make enough money to live on. You don't eat right, so therefore your health goes downhill. Your children don't get what they need to grow up healthy. Socially speaking, they don't get the same advantages that people who make good money get, and so they end up in crime or just, depression, everything, drugs, you name it. So, yeah, poverty does destroy the poor in more than one way. Sadly, that is the fact of life, though. It's been the fact of life since forever. The only way that a poor person can make it in life today is leaning on Jesus. Jesus is the way. He gets us through the hard times. I've been poor most of my life. There was a few years at the last of my husband's life that he was making really good money. We would have been considered one of those middle-class people, but we didn't live that way because he gave away most of his income by supporting 5 families other than ourselves. So we lived a very modest life so that we could do that. So we didn't let money go to our head. We've never cared that much about money. It's just give me enough to pay my bills and buy a few things that I really want. And other than that, my husband just gave it away to those 5 families that needed it more than we did. But unfortunately, people don't do that. If they make good money and they've got more than they need, you won't catch them helping anybody. Now, there's always an exception. There are going to be people out there who are considered middle class who do help people. I'm not talking about them. Those are few and far between. And we knew some of them, but not that many. But it's money just really makes people crazy. It infects their brain, and so they don't really use it properly. Remember when Solomon was made king, God told him, what would you like, Solomon? Solomon didn't ask for money. He asked for wisdom, and this whole book in Proverbs is about wisdom. He asked for wisdom, and of course he got all the riches that the world had ever seen because God blessed him for asking for something other than money. When we get money. We have, and maybe it's more than what we need. We got to remember that there's a brother or sister in Christ who may be in need, and we could help them out. I'm not saying give them every dime you got. I'm just saying help people. Don't let money sit in your bank. It ain't accumulating any interest in the bank for sure, and not help anybody. You know, you don't have to give every extra dime you've got away, but it wouldn't hurt to help a brother or sister in Christ in some way. Don't let money make you crazy. And unfortunately, that's what usually happens. So that's our lesson today. I am sorry that I'm not able to do better for you. I was lucky doing just that. Let's not forget to commune with the Lord. He will direct your path if you let him. The problem is a lot of people don't let him. So commune with the Lord by reading his word, meditating on it, and praying, and praise and worship, and just thinking and conversing with him. Because that's where your path will stay straight. Okay, guys, thank you so much. I hope that this helps somebody somewhere, but it was an obvious lesson, wasn't it? All right, I hope to see you Monday on Bedtime Bible Chat, if the Lord's willing.